Welcome to our school's podcast. Here we're going to show you how teachers, parents, and pupils can share advice, tips, and know-how to bring the best out of all of us. Learning is a joint experience, and through our series of interviews, we can all learn more and achieve even greater things. Here is this week's host.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, of course. This is the Grizzly Talk Podcast with your host, Kennedy Patterson, y'all. Welcome. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You guys, the GGC community, you guys have made this thing possible, of course. So welcome back, of course, to the podcast. Now, we have a couple of things that we're going to talk about here on today's podcast. Let's get on with the meat and the potatoes of the show for sure. If you guys listened to the last podcast, hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. And I mean, of course, I got something to say. You know, I always have something to say that's very interesting for the Grizzly Talk Podcast. You guys really showed some great support of last episode. I know last episode wasn't, GGC filled news, but it's just something that's going around in our country today. I can pretty much say that with the voices that I did and with my voice last episode, I can really see that some RSOs have really made an impact, and I want to thank those RSOs who spoke out about the, of course, Black Lives Matter movement that's still going around today. Yes. You guys have made that possible. I want to give a special shout out to the Faces of Gender because they did a big post, and I want to say that yes, it was intentional. I'll come out and say it. Yes, I called out every RSO in every department at GGC because at first we were just super quiet, and I really did not appreciate it, and I was in fact saddened and very disgusted about RSOs or GGC departments that before wasn't speaking up. So, Faces of Ginger, they did a post, and in their post caption they said, thank you Grizzly Talk for calling us out. We've been too silent about it, and that's not okay. I got up today, and earlier this morning I saw the letter from our president from GGC. So it's good to hear that she actually made a statement about it. I'm very proud of that. I had no regrets with last episode calling GGC out and calling GGC RSOs out. I have no regrets for that because their voices needed to be heard, and I'm so happy about it. Of course, I have just to name a few RSOs. You have the Faces of Gender, the Grizzly Spectator Union. They've been said something about it, so I'm very happy about them with that. You had the GGC Wellness Recreation Center said some things about it. I still stand by what I say. There's still a lot of RSOs who haven't said anything yet. I see you. If you have not said anything yet, if you are a bigger GGC RSO or department and you haven't said anything yet, it goes a long way. I can only be a voice. I can't make an RSO say anything or make statements about what's going on in our world today. But just let you know that GGC sees you if you haven't said anything. The Grizzly Talk Podcast sees you if you haven't said anything. For those RSOs who have said something, thank you. It's very important. I know some people, and I'm not encouraging people go out and destroy things. And I mean, if you do a riots, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm not encouraging, war at GGC. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it does go a long way when you say something, whether it's on social media or not. That goes a long way because it lets you know that you stand by it and you're trying to do as much as you can. Yesterday was Blackout Tuesday, and I saw a couple of RSOs who've done Blackout Tuesday, especially we did here on our platform. We did Blackout Tuesday, and I saw some of my GGC colleagues, some of my GGC friends. I did see one athlete do something about it from GGC Athletics. So it really, and actually I've seen a couple of athletes. One athlete that is current and a couple of athletes who were, graduated. That goes a long way. Believe it or not, that goes a tremendously long way when you're able to do something about it from just your home or just from social media. That goes a long way, because if you look at news today, protest and peaceful protest has been going around for all 50 states here in America. So that shows you something. That shows you something very, very much. They're out there and they're doing the thing, and it showed in all 50 states. And we have countries outside of the U.S. is also protesting as well. So, I appreciate it. The people who spoke up yesterday and the day before that. I really do appreciate Dr. Jan Joseph making a statement on GGC's Instagram account, because I was getting a little worried. But it's good to see that she made a statement. I'm very proud of that. That's something that I can stand behind. Ladies and gentlemen, we are the voices of America. We have to make the change, and it's sad, and I agree with our president at our school. It is sad to see that, we are kind of at a civil war right now, but it goes a long way when you do stuff on social media as much as you can. The last thing I would leave you guys to it is to vote. You probably see it all over the news and all over social media. Voting is the most important thing. Our mayor of Atlanta also said to us on the news is the next important thing for us to do besides doing a peaceful protest and really stand by about it is voting. This is the part where I get kind of political into it, because voting doesn't matter who you vote for. I'm not asking you to vote for a right or wrong party. I'm asking you guys, the GGC community, if you're registered to vote, go out there and vote. The primaries will end June 9th for Georgia primaries. And of course, the election in November is an important key. We have to vote. No matter, I'm not asking who you're voting for. Don't comment below who you're voting for. I don't want to hear all that. I just want to make sure that the GGC community goes out there and vote. It takes time to go out there and vote. Employee, if you're working during the pandemic, I'm sure employers will say, okay, we'll give you an excuse to go vote. A lot of people in school, when November hits around, when fall hits around, school probably going to say, okay, no classes if you're going to go vote. And of course, some professors might even offer extra credit if you go vote. I am definitely going to go vote in Georgia primaries and also in the November 2020 presidential election. I'm definitely going to go vote. So it's really that plays a huge part. So I recommend you guys go out there and go vote. Now more on to GGC news announcements, of course. I thank you guys. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for your efforts for the last couple of days. So we're here to talk about GGC textbooks. Online textbooks grants saving money and promote success for Georgia Gwinnett College students. Of course, the GGC students will save a projected $585,000 in textbooks costs, thanks to more than $66,000 in textbooks transformation grants. The GGC faculty members will use this money to create open source textbooks, learning materials, and other resources online. Offered through the Affordable Learning Georgia. The grant program is designed to increase the availability of affordable alternatives to traditional textbooks. Now, I honestly think this is a grand idea, because a lot of things are moving online. I've witnessed where I would buy and rent books, and I never really use them. So I can't say that, don't buy textbooks because you're not going to use them, because in some classes I've used my textbooks, but there's been some classes where I spent a lot of money renting a book and we never really crack it open, and I end up passing the class. Just the other day, I shipped my books back. I did it via UPS because, of course, a lot of students, you have to ship your books back due to the COVID-19. So I really recommend, if you guys, that due date's coming up very soon, by the way. If you haven't sent in your textbooks, don't wait too long, because they will charge you for that. So if you go ahead and ship your books, they're free label. You can see it in your email, the free label. You're not paying for the cost. If you have a box, then use your box. Fortunately, I had to pay $5 for a box because I didn't have a box. I recently just moved into my new home, so I threw away all my boxes and forgot about shipping my boxes away. So I didn't have a box. So please make sure you have a box, because UPS, they will charge you for a box. They will not ship it in like a plastic bag or anything like that. You have to have a box in order for it to get shipped. Our researchers conducted by the College Board suggest that college students pay more than $1,200 to purchase textbooks and supplies in the year of 2018-19 academic year. It takes about a year to build and test the online materials, according to Dr. Park, assistant professor in the IT, whom with her team earned one of the 3 grants awarded to GGC. I said a lot goes into creating these platforms. And yes, it does. When you're creating an online platform, and as you guys see it, we're here at Grizzly Talk Podcast. We are an online platform as well via radio stations and podcasting. It takes a long time to develop this kind of program. It's IT. It takes a long time to develop it to make sure it's 100% efficient. So they also say we work to align the online books and resources to meet courses outcomes while being accessible, engagement, and targeting to meet the needs of the students. Really very exciting, to say the least. They're going online with this. Now, I don't know from a bookstore perspective. I don't know the logistics on that. Perhaps there's a lot of supplies, though, they still sell at the bookstore. I'll shoot it straight to the GGC community. That's the only time when I go to the bookstore is to rent out books. I necessarily don't go to the bookstore to buy materials because I can find it cheaper somewhere else. But besides the point, it's really good to see that they're going online with this. I think this can go a long way now. Do I think this is going to happen the next fall year? Probably not, but maybe next fall, maybe next spring is probably going to be rolled around for this to work. I don't think it's going to work in this coming fall or this next coming spring. I think it's going to take a little bit more time than that, but I am proud for them to do that, the online, because a lot of people are having online. I do think, though, they should make sure they have some stuff to be very to be physical and in hand, because there's not many students who have access to online or internet or service. So I've seen that there are still some students who may not have access to all of that. So I do think they need to make sure they care for the students who may not have access to it, to have an alternative for it. But I do think online textbooks to be online should be very, very efficient. There's been times where books have been online, and I've actually purchased books online before, and I was able to access them via my iPad when I take my iPad in class. So it's just efficient. It's more, it's light, it's there, and it's not something you have to lug around too much. So I really think this is a great idea for them to implement the online textbook idea. Comment below, what do you guys think about that, and perhaps of in the alternative of buying and renting physical books and to save money. I'm all about saving money too, GGC community. If you don't know that about me, I'm about saving money. I'm that kind of guy. I like to conserve and save money as much as I can. So that goes a tremendously long way. So that's going to do it for the Grizzly Talk Podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's show. I try to get back into the GGC spirit of things and talk about all things GGC, because at the end of the day, that is the purpose of the Grizzly Talk Podcast. But this is some troubling times that we live in. Again, like I said before in the beginning of the podcast, I am so proud of GGC with some of the RSOs. Now, again, I will say this on the podcast. Some of you RSOs who have not said anything yet, and it's been 8 days now, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if you're nervous to talk about it. Like I said in the last podcast, maybe you might be nervous to talk about this kind of thing because you're afraid to hurt some people's feelings, but you're going to have to hurt some people's feelings to say something that is right. Dr. Jan Joseph, our wonderful president for GGC, she said something. She made a statement. You guys can read about it on Instagram and Twitter, and even in your email as well. So I'm grateful that she had said something about that, because to be honest, I was getting a little bit concerned, but I'm glad that she said something about that, about what's going on around the world. So, you got Black Lives, we matter, they matter tremendously. So that's going to do it for the Grizzly Talk Podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and remember to stay safe and go Grizzlies.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review